We are still observing Road Safety Month, and though there are just 2 days left, today's program has some new information on how government is increasing its drive to ensure road users are safe. It's Jamaica Magazine, and I'm Audrey, your driver for the next half hour. Journey with me.
We announced a 16-point liberalization program last year. No new taxi license will be issued for Kingston and St. Andrew. For known bus routes, only buses will be allowed, so that to get a license, you have to have a bus to operate on a bus route. There will be no crushing of seized vehicles. We have taken that out. The takeover service within the industry will now be allowed, but the Transport Authority must approve the new purchaser. This service allows people who are in the industry and wish to cash out and leave to sell their buses and business, and the Transport Authority will now transfer the license provided that the purchaser qualifies in his or her right. All vehicles in the sector must be fitted with a GPS tracker by the 1st of April 2020. But new applicants must be fitted with one from now. However, the owner of the vehicle will be required to monitor themselves. They will not be required to provide a constant fee to the Transport Authority, but the owners must make the information available to the Transport Authority and the police or any authorized body if needed, because the owners will now be required to keep the fee for at least 30 days. The discounts from the insurance companies will continue. Some insurance companies for vehicles fitted with a GPS tracker.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Friday, June 28. The report on the strategic review of Petrojam will be tabled and debated in Parliament. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says Cabinet has considered the report but has not yet made any decisions regarding the committee's findings. In light of public concerns regarding the governance and management of the state-owned oil refinery, government established the Petrojam Review Committee last September. Yesterday, the committee released its report.
The report will be made public, and the stakeholders, even though many of them would have had the opportunity to speak to the committee, might want to go public with their views as well. And then we gauge public opinion, engage the public in this conversation, and we make a decision. This is not an unbounded period of engagement. We have some critical timelines on these things because the refinery is now not operating at its fullest.
Chairman of the Review Committee, Christopher Zaka, says the analysis indicates that for Petrojam to be commercially viable, its operating efficiencies must improve. He says also that an investment of $78 million is needed. It is recommended that the government exit active management of both the terminal and the refinery through a long-term lease of Petrojam's assets. Another proposal is for a petroleum industry enterprise team to be commissioned to chart a course for the government's exit, and that a transaction advisor such as the International Finance Corporation be engaged. The report includes other recommendations pertaining to pricing mechanisms for terminals and the immediate appointment of a board for Petrojam. Cabinet has approved the development of 150,000 square feet of new building space at Garmex Free Zone in Kingston. The expansion is part of Phase 1 of plans to create 595,000 square feet of space at Kingston's premier industrial and commercial complex. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the project received Cabinet's approval on Monday. He says the build-out of factory space by the Factories Corporation of Jamaica complements work being done on the Nago Head Tech Park in St. Catherine.
810,000 square feet. The park will cost $8.1 billion to construct. It will house mostly BPO activities, but it is a technology park. So we want to also encourage new business in technology to occupy the park under a special economic zone operation.
Government is maintaining its position that the primary exit profile, PEP, is a viable alternative to the previous high school placement test, GSAT. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says PEP is part of the creation of a new Jamaica, where persons apply critical thinking and the process of investigation to find solutions to problems.
Amid the rapid societal changes, our approaches, programs, and areas of emphasis must keep pace to be relevant to contemporary society and to the future.
Mr. Holness was addressing the presentation ceremony for the Prime Minister's Medal of Appreciation for Service to Education Wednesday night. 40 outstanding educators were presented with awards for service to the sector. And finally, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith has hailed the recently staged 8th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference as a success. There was an increase in the number of overseas participants from 239 in 2017 to 280 this year. The conference examined investment opportunities in the stock market, climate-smart agriculture, and medical cannabis, among others.
We obtained support for 5 projects on the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange, and we also celebrate the fact that we had an execution of 40 projects across the country on the day of service, including education, healthcare, community development, and public safety, which exemplified diasporans giving back in a tangible and direct way to Jamaica.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
The Ministry of Transport and Mining is on a mission to drive these two sectors on a safe path to prosperity this year. In sync with development are plans to stop individuals who have outstanding traffic tickets from flying out of the island, while traffic cams will make it easier to ticket or prosecute motorists who disobey traffic lights or commit other offences. These and other news await you in the Ministry's 2019 sectoral presentation next.
Last year, we cleaned off the train engines, loaded the buses, and traveled to some mining grounds to further develop that industry. It's 2019 and the Ministry of Transport and Mining is well on its way to prosperity.
It is not a political slogan, but a roadmap. Today, you can walk to prosperity. You can ride to prosperity. You can even drive to prosperity. And come the 20th of June and the 9th of July, you can fly to prosperity.
More Jamaicans now have the opportunity to travel by plane from one section of the island to another. This after 2 private investors, Howard Levy from Jamaica and Lyndon Gardner from the Turks and Caicos Islands, partnered with the government to offer domestic flights to every registered aerodrome in the country.
These scheduled domestic flights mark a new and historic day in general aviation in Jamaica.
And the flight to prosperity continues with plans to increase the size of the Immigration and Customs Hall at the Sangster International Airport. The airport will also get a new shopping area and food court, which will be accessible to residents of nearby communities.
The Sangster International Airport is growing from strength to strength. It is now the fastest growing airport in the region. We have seen a 6% growth over 2017 and are projecting a 3% growth in 2019. This year we'll see more improvements.
At the intersect of ground and air, there are plans to stop individuals who have outstanding traffic tickets from flying out of the island. The ministry is partnering with PICA on this initiative. And persons who run red lights or commit other offenses may find themselves recorded on traffic cameras and being issued electronic tickets based on license plate readings recorded in the ministry's database.
We are leveraging technology to assist in road safety. All of this should have been done already, but these new things take time and the process of approval is long.
This financial year, there will be an even smoother drive to prosperity with the plans to acquire new buses for the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC. The JUTC is also concluding a 15-month negotiation on a mobile money fare collection system that will allow passengers to pay their bus fares using their smartphones.
a project is now being prepared to be presented to PIMSEC for consideration. We are preparing to purchase new buses. However, we must deal with the approved funds to refurbish 15 of the 18 articulated buses and have received the NCC's non-objection letter, and Cabinet has recently given its go-ahead.
And the Transport Ministry is ready to get the railway industry back in full movement.
The Jamaica Railway Corporation, Mr. Speaker, is awakening from its slumber as well.
A private consortium is to control 34 kilometers of the island's right-of-way and rails through a partnership with the Ministry of Transport and Mining. The company will help improve the tracks, buy their own engine and coaches, and pay a royalty per passenger for the permit from the Jamaica Railway Corporation, JRC.
This service will start in Montpelier to Catadupa as a tourist attraction and eventually go on to Appleton, but we are going to do it in phases. In addition, the stops along the route will have Jamaican businesses, so hairdressers, vendors, craft people, all from the immediate communities, no big chain stores.
A school train service will also begin soon at the Old Harbour to Spanish Town and Spanish Town to Linstead Legs, and will be synced with the JUTC bus schedule.
Mr. Speaker, mining is doing well. Other minerals are being actively explored. The outlook is excellent, and mining's best days are ahead of us.
To keep the momentum in mining, a limestone production facility will be developed to serve our alumina refineries and for export purposes.
Lime is one of the critical components in the refining process. A little is produced locally, but most is imported. We have an abundance of limestone in Jamaica, so we are having discussions with private sector interests for this facility.
The ministry is also paying special effort to relocating families living close to the island's mud lakes this year, with a steady plan to relocate them all over time.
This minister is now going to use those vesting orders to help the ordinary Jamaican families because the time has come.
And with the growth in the mining industry, more investments are expected. So with that, government has partnered with the Geophysics Jamaica Limited to update the island's geological maps so new and potential mining investors can better search for minerals. Geophysics has also provided a digitally generated map of Jamaica showing where water is being held underground.
The same methods used to seek minerals have been able to locate water. He accepted the challenge, and the maps are ready at no cost to the people of Jamaica.
And with those plans for the 2019-2020 financial year, the Ministry of Transport and Mining is set on making Jamaica the place of choice to do just about anything.
There is no turning back. We are implementing, we are building, we are not into beautiful speaking or action, we say.
It's been 5 days since former Prime Minister Edward Seaga was laid to rest. Thousands of Jamaicans came out to honor and bid farewell to the stalwart who served as Prime Minister from 1980 to 1989 and Member of Parliament for 43 years. Mr. Seaga was also celebrated at numerous national events leading up to his funeral. One was the Arts in Tribute at the Little Theatre in Kingston.
Take your wings and fly.
Edward Philip George Seaga, a walking reservoir of cultural content, a creator of opportunities, facilitating cultural and creative offerings to both common and exotic palates, unearthing and developing latent talents, promoting and preserving our national identity.
Love you, Eddie, Eddie, love you. We love you. Love you, Eddie, Eddie, love you. Papa Eddie, love you. Eddie, Eddie, love you. Papa Eddie, love you. We love you. Eddie, love you. Papa Eddie,
leaves us as vanguards of social and cultural development to continue the preservation of cultural heritage. We see you, Eddie. Look to the north, we see you. Look to the south,
you're dead.
East and west,
You are forever present.
Until the philosophy which old one writes superior and another.
The Little Theatre in Kingston was recently the meeting place for an audience who, despite the challenging reality of death, brought memories, gifts, and talents to honor one man, one ineffaceable man. In this week's edition of the Arts Page, we serenade you with highlights of the recently held Arts in Tribute for former Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Edward Philip George Seaga. Feet of Gratitude danced to tuneful songs.
Hey, what we need is love to guide and protect us on.
Talented musicians and melodious voices sang songs of solace, and words of gratitude were expressed from representatives of various institutions.
I was at heart as a trainee when Mr. Seaga opened the Ebony Park Academy for Agricultural Skills. I was knee-deep in mud with my fellow trainees, and he joined us, getting the place clean and ready for the official opening. This was the Prime Minister of Jamaica, working side by side with us young people in the mud. Such was the measure of the man.
Mr. Seaga served as the Distinguished Chancellor of our university from 2010 to the time of his passing on May 28, 2019. During this period, he was a major source of inspiration and a guide to the leadership of the university.
He was one of our distinguished fellows and a productive member of the Mona academic community. But most importantly, he will be remembered as a fierce advocate of quality education for all.
Edward Philip George Seaga recognized the beginning of that cultural explosion, which had in many areas of Jamaica already started, but had not yet found full expression in formal dance. And thus he became the patron of the National Dance Theatre Company.
Edward Seaga was our last living patron, so of course he plays a very important role in what you see here as the National Dance Theatre Company's home. He was also very instrumental in a piece that was choreographed by the late Professor Rex Nettleford. It was titled Pocomania. He was the key person who actually took the company to various places on field trips so that they could actually delve into the authentic Pocomanian rituals that existed in the country at the time. And there's a funny story about him coming backstage correcting dancers on the step, so much so that that particular step was called the Seaga step.
I remember when we used to sit in a government yard in Trench Town.
I remember in the 1960s when I was inspired by him to become a member of, in those days we had groups. Like St. Andrew, we had about 6 groups. And those groups would form the St. Andrew Cultural Development Committee because he wanted the grassroots people to be involved in it. You know, I can never forget, he is a real cultural icon.
Mr. Seaga know me very well. He played a good part in our music. That's why I'm here tonight, to show my respect to him, you know?
Oh, what a blessing we have received to have been so privileged
salute a great man who developed institutions, who developed people, who developed communities, and an entire nation.
A unique style. So much like a child.
You know, what he did for revivalism in Jamaica, what he has done for reggae music in Jamaica, what he has done for our communities all over. So it was a fitting tribute.
Right now, Mr. Seago is proud. He's smiling wherever his glory and his maker.
Hallelujah. He's a legend. He's a legend.
The Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts, in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, recently hosted its annual International Jazz Day concert on the East Lawns of Devon House. The event seeks to celebrate the rich history of jazz in Jamaica and to teach the patrons about its roots, future and impact. Here's more.
Tonight, instruments mingle and voices sing. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Welcome to a night of jazz.
We're celebrating International Jazz Day 2019 at Devon House. I'm here with Director of Marketing and Communications at Edna Manley to tell us more about the event. Tell us about the event. Why are we here today and what's it all about?
Well, in 2011, the United Nations declared April Jazz Month, culminating with International Jazz Day on April 30. And what they do is to write all UNESCO member states to invite them to participate in this worldwide celebration. We started the year when it was in Paris. I think that would have been 2015, with just a small concert.
Jazz Day celebrates the history and impact of the music genre that is recognized for promoting human rights and human dignity, dialogue among cultures, freedom of expression, and the role of young people in enacting social change.
There's a land that I have heard about so far across the sea.
There were a variety of performances, many of which witnessed students performing alongside their professors.
We offer a degree in jazz and performance, and so we thought it would be appropriate to showcase the faculty who are quite good, as you can witness here, as well as our students, so showcase them to the world.
When sunny gets blue, her eyes get gray and cloudy, then the rain begins to fall. Pitter patter, love is gone, so what can matter? No sweet loving man comes to call. She breathes a sigh of sadness, like the wind that stirs the tree.
We've been given great guidance by our teachers, also been motivated by our peers and everybody. So, yeah, it came off well.
And in order to be on the jazz choir, you have to audition, and the audition is basically when the voices blend together. If you don't blend, you're not going to be on the jazz choir.
It went well. We had great interaction with the crowd, and the crowd was participating, and that was a good thing, you know, because sometimes they have some boring people, you know, but this time it went well.
In addition to the wonderful performances, students from Edna's School of Visual Arts also had a painting station set up and a silent auction for the completed artwork at the end of the night. The Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, also graced the jazz scene to enjoy the music and speak a few words.
Today's celebration is about acknowledging the power of the music to bring people together in love, peace, and unity. We also celebrate the influence of jazz on Jamaican music and the contribution of Jamaican musicians to jazz internationally. And it is because of these diverse musical innovations that UNESCO designated Kingston as the creative city of music.
And we wouldn't be the creative city of music if we didn't mix up the flavors. Many performances paid tribute to both local and international artists.
We also have a master class with the artists. So the international act that comes is able to share their craft with our students, other master artists in Jamaica. This year our special guest artist is Steve Turre. Steve Turre is an American trombonist. But what's unique about Steve is that he uses conch shells to make music. And you'll see some of that tonight.
The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport and the Jamaica Music Museum, we are happy to join the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts in the staging of this concert in celebration of International Jazz Day.
The fact that the ministry is on board with us this year and they're not reinventing the wheel is very important. And so I think we will have a bigger concert next year with that kind of partnership. What's our aim? That one day UNESCO may say, let's go to Jamaica for the main concert and bring their all-star global artists here for a performance right here, somewhere in Kingston.
What I like about the show is that there's a mixture of some kind of reggae and some ska. Because the guy had featured some danjaman music and really bring back some sense of long time. I really enjoyed it.
The use of the shells is novel, so that for me was quite a difference from what we normally have. What I also like about these shows is the mixture of experience and younger musicians. It's an avenue for the students from Edna Manley to be exposed, to show off their skills and talents. And I like that mixture.
We had a very classy, jazzy time tonight. So mark your calendars because we're waiting for you next year.
And this is our final stop in today's magazine. Thanks so much for journeying with us. As we go, we implore you to stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm, or our YouTube channel. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via our social media pages. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Audrey Williams, reminding you to keep safe and hydrated on our roadways.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.